morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to our first 2025 webinar series, which was be part of a numerous series here in our Family Self Sufficiency program. This webinar will be on tax preparation. Today's guest will be Amy Eben from Cuyahoga Earned Income Tax Credit Coalition, and she'll be sharing information on assessing free tax preparation assistance in financial services. Prior to Amy taking the floor, we want to make sure that we just go over a few housekeeping rules. Again, the session will be recorded. Make sure your mics are muted and your cameras are off. And with that said, without further ado, I'd like to turn the floor over to Amy. After Amy's done, then we'll go into an open discussion or question and answer session. Thank you, Amy.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's nice to see you all on this cold afternoon. We've been really getting hit with some weather. So I am Amy, and I am with Enterprise Community Partners, and we lead the Enterprise or the Cuyahoga Earned Income Tax Credit Coalition, or Cuyahoga EITC Coalition. The coalition is part of the IRS's National VITA program. That's volunteer tax assistance program. So it is, volunteers are a good chance that they're doing your tax return. We are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. Started back in 2015 with a small group of partners. And this year we have a lot of partners, and we have 17 tax sites throughout the city for people to take advantage of. And I can show you a list of those a little bit later, and how to make an appointment and how even to volunteer if that's something you might be interested in, because any site would love to have you. So our focus is, of course, the Earned Income Tax Credit. That is the largest relief program that the federal government offers. We are looking to we'll serve just about anybody, but we're really looking to serve families with children. To get the Earned Income Credit, the max there, and child tax credit, any dependent care credits that you might be entitled to. So that is our focus. The threshold for the Earned Income Tax Credit, as far as income goes, is $67,000 a year. That would be for a family that's filing jointly. But we'll serve people who are above those incomes. We don't know what anybody's, life situation is like. So just because it seems like they're making a lot of money, we don't know what's really happening there. So again, if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to just, chime in. I'm happy to answer those as we go along. We have several different methods for people to choose from. We have sites that are strictly drop-off. A lot of people really like that. They can drop off all of their stuff, and they can come back in a couple weeks later and pick it up and get it filed. We have some in-person sites where you go and you wait while your taxes are prepared, and you leave with your actual tax return, and then that gets filed. And then we also have a virtual method as well. We partner with Get Your Refund. So we have a specific link for that. And I send all this out to Marie, and maybe she can share it with you, however the magic works for you guys to share all of your information. But that's 100% virtual. You can either do it yourself, or you can do the full service option where you upload all of your documents. We take care of it on our end. We review everything with you over the phone. You have access to all of your documents in your account. So trying to make it as easy as possible for people to get their taxes filed. We give you guys lots of options. So as it is, it's all volunteers. We recruit and we retrain all of our volunteers. We're in the middle of trainings right now, and they'll be wrapping up soon for the year towards the end of the month. Because we've had such an overwhelming interest, we might want to consider adding some more trainings for that. We are looking for greeters who can just welcome taxpayers as they come to the location, sign them in, and hand them their packet of information. This is typically how it goes across the board, whether you're drop off, in person, or virtual. You have to do an intake sheet. If anybody's ever used our services before, it's a really long form that needs to be filled out. We interview all the taxpayers once that form is complete, just to make sure that we have verified everybody's identity, collected, social security cards for everybody on the tax return, and collect all of your forms that you need to file either for credits or to report as income to the IRS. And then your return is completed. It's also quality reviewed, and then it is reviewed with you, the taxpayer, for accuracy, just to make sure that everything is correct. You would sign off on that tax return, and it would be e-filed probably within 24 hours. So that's generally what someone might expect at a tax site. If you're drop off, they collect all of your stuff. They're going to keep your original documents, but they're going to copy your photo ID and social security cards, and then that gets completed, reviewed, and then you come back in, go over it with you, and then you sign off on your tax return. We're also looking for intake specialists. Intake specialists can go a little step further than the greeters. They can do the interview and they can collect all the documents. So if these are volunteer opportunities, if anybody might be interested in those. And then, of course, tax preparers. And we have basic and advanced options. We're trying to get everybody certified at advanced this year. We see a lot of 1099s for people who do, the gig work. So a lot more than we used to. We only do federal and state. We don't do any city returns. Usually at our Super Saturday events, we have City of Cleveland Central Collection Agency will be on site at St. Ignatius and Cleveland Central Catholic, and they do tax returns for the city there. But for like the city of Lakewood, you can just go there and they do them for you. Rita has a really easy website, but you can also go to Rita and they will do your tax returns for you. We can also do prior years. We can go back to 2019. We do have a very few selected sites who can go back further and will actually do paper returns. That's only like one or two. Sometimes people do get IRS letters saying, go see a vital location and do all of these tax returns back to 2015 or whatever the case might be. So we do have that availability as well. We can do amended returns as well. Amended returns go back to 2019, I believe it is. Yeah, and to do amended return, we would need to know or see the original return so that we can make sure that that's done correctly, depending on what's being changed, added, or removed. Ba-bum-bum. Our tax sites are starting to open. I can show you guys a list of our tax sites. I'm actually going to share my screen right now, if that's okay with you guys. Let me get my internet out. Let me try to get this to you guys. I'm not really that savvy when it comes to Zoom. Okay. Okay, so can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So these are all of our locations. CHN, ESOP, also known as Benjamin Rose, over on Fair Hill. Over in Glenville, we have Famicos on Ansel and Superior, the Five Point Community Center in Collinwood, that's on East 152nd. We have two locations in Gordon Square. One is sponsored by Northwest Neighborhoods. And then we have another site down the road in Glenville at the centers for families and children. Different days, but those are both there. We have in the Mount Pleasant County building on Kinsman, and I think it's East 138th. We have a tax site there in partnership with the Seeds of Literacy. Step Forward has three locations. Their central location downtown in the old Plain Dealer building. They're also on East 200th Street, and they opened a new site this year on Pearl Road in Middleburg Heights. That's one of their neighborhood opportunity centers. In East Cleveland, we have Stephanie Tubbs Jones Health Center. That's a small site. It's only open on Saturdays, but it's open every Saturday throughout the tax season. And then the center's uptown in University Circle. And again, Gordon Square with the Centers for Families and Children. Our third year at the Dollar Bank branch on West 25th Street in the Clark Fulton neighborhood. They have a nice community room, so we're there 4 days a week. And libraries, we are in Fleet Library. It's a Cleveland Public Library. That's a drop-off site only, very popular site. We're at Parma Snow Library, Cuyahoga County Public Library. We are opening South Euclid Library this year on Green Road because Notre Dame College closed, and that was always one of our sites. And we're also at the Rice branch of the Cleveland Public Library on Shaker and MLK. So we have a lot of places for people to choose from. We try to make it easy for you guys to make an appointment. And I can show you our appointment system as well if you want to make an appointment. So you would just go to refundohio.org, and up here you just make an appointment. And that takes you to our scheduling page. Now you can also call United Way First Call for Help at 211 if you want to be connected to our voice automated system. It's better this year than it has been in years past. And the phone number for that is also right here on our landing page for our appointment scheduler. You can call that directly. So we tell you here, excuse me, what you need to bring, what you might have, and some examples of some common things that we see. That you're going to get a confirmation, you're going to get an email or a text confirmation. If you want to book an appointment with a Step Forward location, here are the phone numbers that you call for each location. We don't make their appointments for them, so those need to be made separately. These are all of our super refund events that we have coming up. For EITC Awareness Day, we have an event at PNC Fairfax on Carnegie. That's our very first event of the year. And then our main event is always St. Ignatius Key Bank Super Refund Saturday at St. Ignatius. And that one is a really large event. Cleveland Central Catholic on February 8th, also a pretty good sized event. And Tri-C Metro on February 22nd. So those are our big events for the year. You could schedule with any of those. For those events this year, we're only doing current year returns, no prior years, but any site can do a prior year for anybody that needs one completed. And if you are interested in a drop-off site, you would go straight to the drop-off box. And for anybody else, if you don't want to do drop off, you would go to just the regular tax sites and say that you're, of course, a US citizen. We do see our fair share of folks who are not actual citizens. And then answer more questions. Your spouse own their own business or paid on a 1099 miss, because there's things that are out of scope for us. This determines where you go, because some of our sites are advanced and some of our sites are only basic. So we want to make sure we get you where you need to be. But we're just going to say no. I just have a couple of W-2s I need to file. And then schedule now. And you have to answer these questions again. So we're just going to say no, 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 no. And next. And you can search, depending on how many years you have to do. Right now, we'll just say we just are going to do 2024. And you can search by address, zip code, location, or first available date and time. So we're going to search by address, and I'm just going to put a zip code in. Anybody want to use the zip code? Can I use one of your zip codes, or should I just use like 44120?
44125.
44125. Okay. And then we'll get locations. Oh, actually, let me put that in the right location. 44125. See what we get. Select location. Okay, so close to 44125 is Parma Snow, Fleet Library, Clark Dollar Bank, Mount Pleasant, or the centers at Detroit Road. So we'll just pick anyone you want to pick, Marie.
Let's try Fleet.
Fleet. So we want Fleet, and it shows you where it is. We'll do next.
Nice.
And then these are the green boxes are the days they're open. Fleet happens to only be open on Thursdays for drop off. So you would select your time. We'll just say 11. So I'm making an appointment for Thursday, January 23rd at 11 a.m. If you wanted to, see, I can unselect that. If you wanted to look further, of course, you would just toggle, and maybe you want to come in February. So we could do February at 11, and then we could do next. And then you just put in, I'll just this is my standard fake birthday day that I put in for everything. Let's see if it fetches my info. So I'm a new customer because it doesn't have any information on me. If you've used this system before, it will fill all of that in for you. And an email is always a good thing to have. But a phone number these days is nice, very convenient. You get your confirmations and everything texted to you. And then we also partner with Bank On. It's the national savings program. It seems to be that there's about 30% of folks out there that don't have bank accounts. So if anybody's interested in learning more about a safe, secure bank account, you could just say yes, and somebody would reach out to you. I'm just going to say no right now because I'm going to need to cancel this appointment. And then it verifies everything, appointment time, where I'm going, the address. I'm just doing a current year. And then just confirm. You can print it out if you want, but you don't have to. So that's how you make an appointment. Does anybody have any questions about any of that for me?
Yeah. So they can find that appointment in your website, um, to schedule the appointment, correct?
Yes, to schedule the
If,
appointment, you would go to refundohio.org.
okay,
I could put that in the chat too if anybody wanted to
yeah,
grab
the
it.
link. Okay.
I had a
And then schedule an appointment.
I had a
Okay,
question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
okay, go ahead, Danielle.
Okay. Is that the only way that you can sign up? You have to go through those steps.
Through the online version, yes, but if you call the phone number or 211,
Uh-huh.
it's all voice automated, and then you would do that through your phone. It's a little bit more cumbersome. This is actually
Mm,
a lot easier. It's mobile friendly,
mm,
um, for
mm.
use on your telephone, or you can do the 211
Yeah,
option.
I'll do the 211.
It's better this year. We've
Mm,
taken a hard look at that as well.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
You have questions that are swelling up in the chat here, and so uh, beginning with, let's see, Miss Bombi, do you have weekend hours?
Yeah.
And how long and intense is the certification process? She'd like to know.
Okay. So first, yes, we do have weekend hours. Most of our tax sites are open on Saturdays. Usually from like 9 to 2, 9 to 3, 9 to 4. But yeah, they're all open on Saturdays. The certification process is really not that bad. We like to tell our volunteers that you get your real practical experience when you actually get to a tax site and start doing tax returns. So right now we offer, I'm doing another intake training on Monday. So we do those. We do basic tax law. It's usually a Zoom meeting. It's been on Wednesday nights. And then we do a part two on the following Saturday that we do practice returns. There's a practice lab that we can use that's just like the real software. It is the real software, only they're all fake returns. Um, so we do that. This week, actually, Tuesday, Wednesday, and tonight is my last advanced training. So we do some advanced trainings. We might do more of those next year. They seem to be pretty popular for people who want to, level up and reach that next certification level. And then there's also military, foreign student, international certifications that people can take.
Okay, that's awesome.
And
Right.
then one more thing, once you get to the tax site, you're loaded with support. You're working with volunteers who have been doing this for a while. Site coordinators have been doing this for a while. If you have any questions or you feel stuck, there's always somebody who can help you.
Okay.
I had another quick question. How long does it take to get your refund back?
So refunds, we were telling taxpayers last year, 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll kind of go back to their, like 2 week schedule pretty soon. But yeah, I would say with direct deposit, 2 to 3 weeks, for a paper check. Of course, it could be up to, 4, maybe 5 weeks.
All right. Moving along, we have another question from Ms. Thomas, one of our case managers, asking if someone is interested in applying for the volunteer position, where would they do so?
So I can show you guys that too. So let me share my screen again. I can show you guys Volunteer Hub. Actually, let me get to it up here first. So I'm going to take you guys back to refundohio.org. Okay, can you guys, wait, not yet. Okay, can you see my screen where it says EITC Coalition tax sites?
Yes.
Okay. So if we just go back to our homepage, this is refundohio.org.
Mhm.
And then this is our home site. You would just, if you want to volunteer, you would just hit volunteer. And there's all kinds of information on this page about volunteering, testimonials, the different levels of volunteerism, how to get started, how to get certified, how to sign up, and then a little bit more about how you could help spread the word even if you don't really want to do taxes. So you would hit volunteer up here right next to make an appointment. And then we want to log in to our volunteer account. So you need an account in here, and I have one. So I'll just log in. And this is what you would see. And if you're not certified, you can see all of the training opportunities down here. If you scroll down, you can see, well, now we're into January and people are starting to open up. But this is where you would see all of the training. Here's basic certification part 2. That's actually coming up this Saturday at Mount Pleasant. And then you would click on that and then you could sign up for it. But to sign up as for a shift at a tax site, in order to be able to see those opportunities, you have to be certified at some level, or else you won't even see those opportunities. Does that make sense? Does
Yeah,
anybody have any questions about
so
that?
the training is required in order to be a tax preparer, intake specialist, greeter, or even a brand ambassador, because those are the different volunteer opportunities that you have, even for
Yeah,
those positions.
the brand ambassador not necessarily has to be certified, but to be a
Mhm,
greeter, you have to be
mhm,
certified at the Volunteer Standards of Conduct.
mhm.
To be an intake specialist, you have to be certified at the Volunteer Standards of Conduct, plus you have to have passed the intake interview and quality review exam. And then to be a tax preparer at the basic level, you have to have passed the first 2 plus the basic training. And then advanced, the first 2 plus the advanced training.
And relatively, how long does the training take to become certified?
So we like to, do it pretty quickly. So generally at the part 2 trainings, we try to get everybody certified there as kind of a group. People have already been through, especially people that maybe don't, understand taxes, have never done taxes before. They've just gone through the basic training on a Wednesday evening. And then that following Saturday, they sign up for the in-person. So everybody's sitting in front of a laptop. Uh, and then we can kind of go through all of the scenarios together and talk about, the questions, make sure that everybody understands why they're right or why they're wrong. And yeah, get everybody certified through Link and Learn. Link and Learn is another site. Do you want me to show you that too? Because that's where the tests are.
Um, yeah, you could share the link in the chat. That would be great. You can guide us. You could also share it in the chat. I know you have a few more questions out there as well. So I'm going to try to keep everything engaged. But yeah, you're welcome to also share it in the chat.
Okay, yeah, I put it in the chat. Did you want to see it?
Okay.
Do we have
Sure.
time?
Sure.
Okay. So let me stop this share. And let me. Here again. Okay, so this is the landing page for Lincoln Learn. Of course, you have to have an account for this too. But this is where all of the tests are. I'm not sure I remember my password to get in here right now. I've had to change things so much lately. That's not it. Sorry, guys, I don't remember what my password is right now, and I'm going to scare you going through the I forgot my password. But it is a very user-friendly site. And there's a volunteer agreement in there too that, we collect from you once you're all done. But you really do get a lot of support along the way if you want to volunteer. When I started this, I will be honest, I like to tell the story a lot. I did it kicking and screaming because I'm not a math person. I don't like math. I had never done a tax return in my life. But once I started doing it, I really, really, really liked it. And I think what I liked the most was that you get to learn so much about a family in the short period of time that you're together.
Excuse me. Not to interrupt. Excuse me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Revo View. Yes.
Oh yeah, my name is Marquise Crenshaw. I was calling to see was this a group that we have to attend? Because I'm at work and I'm on lunch now. And I was wondering how long was it going to be?
Okay, it's over at 12:30, but if you have to excuse yourself, it's totally fine. This session is being recorded and you can continue to or to review it on YouTube. So I'll send that link. We can send that out to you. Mm-hmm.
I said I'll give some time. Once I get off break, then I'll you know, go back to work. But I'll pay attention for a moment.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
I can put my email address and you could just send your information. We'll get the YouTube session to you, okay, in case you have to leave.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Our next question in the chat is I like to use 1020.com to do my taxes. Is that a good website to do taxes?
What is it?
I like to use 1040.com to do my taxes. Is that a good website to do taxes?
I've never heard of it before.
Okay.
But if you're looking for some alternatives, myfreetaxes.com is very nice. I use that myself. It's a United Way sponsored platform. It's also TaxSlayer, which is very easy. And I think they even have, like a chat feature if you have questions and you're doing it yourself. And that's for incomes up to, I think it's pretty generous, like 80,000. It's free. They do federal and state. Um, the IRS has a direct file program. I'm not sure. It might just be federal. You might have to pay for the state. Be careful with some of that because they might offer the federal for free, but then they're going to charge you to file the state. I like My Free Taxes or Get Your Refund. That's the virtual piece that we partner with. So we do that as well. And that's either do it yourself with assistance or you can full service do it. And a volunteer is behind the scenes doing your tax return for you. So, but
Right.
my free taxes, super easy if you want to do it yourself.
Okay. Um, our next question, Ms. Bells, had also kind of piggybacked on the question about volunteerism. Was that answered for you, Ms. Bells? Yes, okay, great. All right, and then I had listed pretty much during your presentation about your sites. I had uh, just put them in the chat in case anybody wanted them. Ms. Johnson also had a question about, are interpreters available? Or someone, I guess, who is who needs to, for a deaf person, or someone who needs an interpreter,
Yes, we
or
do
even
do
for
that.
Hispanics.
Yeah, we're working out some details with that now. Right now, we do have some volunteers who are Spanish fluent.
Mm-hmm,
So if they're around, they are great. We've
mm-hmm.
also been working with UCRI, and don't ask me what that stands for, but they are a big translation service. They speak, I don't even know how many languages they can get translators for, but we are working with them to have in place if somebody does need translation services. We've always worked with the Hearing and Speech Center uh, to get interpreters for deaf sign language. So yes, we do. We're still putting all of that in place now, but yes, the short
That,
answer is yes.
that is awesome. Do you also provide training for those individuals who need interpreters in case they were looking for to volunteer?
We haven't done special trainings for non-English speaking volunteers, but that is actually a great idea. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Ms. Bells has another question. Can a person walk in to receive tax preparation services, or is it by appointment only?
So I'll be honest with you guys. We advertise that it is by appointment only. And the reason that we do that is because if we get a lot of walk-ins, um, it really disrupts the flow. And then people who have appointments, we can't bump them. That's not fair. So if somebody wanted to be a walk-in, and our sites don't like to turn taxpayers away, they just don't like to. But if you like some night you have time, it's like the stars are lining up for you and you can go somewhere to get your taxes done, I would go early, and see if somebody can't, like try to squeeze you in. Never ever wait until like the day or their hours are half over, because by then they're into the thick of things and trying to finish everything up to get, people out of there. So if you have to do it, I would do it early in the
Okay.
shift. If it's a Saturday early in the morning, or if it's an evening hour, I would go really close to opening as you could.
That is quite convenient. I'm going to take a little break from the chat and see if there's a few questions out there from the general audience that I'm not neglecting their requests. I mean, their interest as well. Is there anybody out there that has a few questions before I move on to the next question in the chat? Okay, that said, our next question is from Yolanda Kini. Um, actually preparing your own text. I guess she was just making a comment there. It's good for her. She actually preparing her own taxes. I hope that's correct, Miss Kennedy. Um, and Miss Crawford has a question. If transportation is a barrier, does your organization provide a transportation resource?
We do not provide
Okay.
transportation.
Mhm. Okay. And Amy, you shared your link uh, in the chat as well, how to reach you, Leap Learn certification. Um, let's see. And Ms. Crawford also asked, how long does the certification last? Does it need to be completed yearly?
It does. We've been trying to get the IRS for years to, make it 2 or 3 years to be valid, but they still insist that everybody is certified new every year.
Okay, all right, so it's an annual, they have to do it annually, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, Mr. Gamble is up next. He is asking, is it just tax returns for 1040 EZ?
No. So
Okay.
the EZ form kind of went away back in 2018 when then President Trump changed the tax law. He said it was making it easier, but he really just added a lot of schedules.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we do the 1040, we do the 1040, I think it's the 1040 SR for seniors and retired.
Mhm.
And then we do the schedules are included, the earned income tax credit. We can do uh, investment sales of stocks and bonds. So we can do amended returns. So yes, Mr. Gamble, there's an awful
Uh,
lot we can do.
for Mr. Young man who may have to leave, I did put my email address in the chat, lassiter@cmha.net. And then one of the sites for to do your own taxes, Miss Eben did mention, and I also put that in the site. But back to our next question, Miss Yolanda Keeney is asking, do I still file if federal taxes are not taken out? Will I get a refund? Do I still file if federal taxes are not taken out? And will I get a refund?
And it says I'm on disability but work part-time, right?
Yes, yes.
So disability is never taxable. What I would and whenever I get a question about taxes, it depends, right? Because there's all kinds of factors and variables that contribute to all different kinds of life situations. But it sounds like they're not taking any federal withholding out of your W-2 for your part-time work. And if that's the case, then you wouldn't get that back because there's nothing to give back. But um, uh, the earned income tax credit is available for people who are 25 to 65. I'm not sure how old you are, but if you fall in there and your earned income is, and you don't have any dependents, you could be entitled to some earned income credit. So if there's ever any questions about stuff like that, you could always go to a tax site and or you can email support@refundohio.org. Let me put that in the chat for you. That is me. I check all of that. So if you have questions, you can always reach me through that. But yeah, everything depends. So even if you send me an email and you ask a question, I may have a question back. So we can get to the bottom of it that way.
They'll reach you one way or the other, right?
Right.
Okay. Speaking of earned income tax credit, I had a quick question. Is there an age limit on claiming a child as a dependent?
So, I mean, yes and no. So if I'm a mother, I have a dependent and there's a lot of ways to look at this. So for one, if the dependent is disabled, totally and permanently disabled, you can always claim that child. You can always get the earned income tax credit as long as you have earned income for that child. Then there's the school rule. So if I have my daughter is in college, I can claim her that way until she's 24. And I can claim, tuition credits, education credits, and still claim her for the earned income tax credit too as well. Once a child turns 19, if they are no longer a student and they're not going to college, you can still claim them as long as they're not making more than, I think it's like $5,500. If they're not making any money, no worries. You can claim them. You can just get the child tax credit is gone, the earned income credit is gone, but you can still claim them as a dependent for a $500 other dependent non-refundable deduction.
Part
So
B today. Sorry. Okay.
even if they're 35 and they're living in your house and they're not working, you could, it happens. You could claim them as a dependent and just get that $500 deduction for that.
Part B, I was going to ask, if they're working and you claim them as a dependent, what are they able to file taxes? Their taxes as well?
So, yes, I mean, for an older dependent, if they're working, if they're making more than $5,500, they should just be filing on their own. If they're a dependent and this doesn't count for students, that's a whole different story. They can make more, but if they're not a student and they're not making more than $5,500 a year, you can claim them. They can file a tax return too to get any federal withholding back, but they have to say that they can be claimed as a dependent on somebody else's return. I can't tell you how many times, a young person, 17, gets a job, all excited, going to file her taxes, going to get a tax return back. And then the mother goes to file and it gets rejected because the daughter filed on her own and didn't say that she could be claimed as a dependent on somebody else's return. So if you have teenagers that are working, have that conversation with them because they can still file, but you still need to claim them.
All right. We want to remind everyone this session is being recorded, so make sure your mics are muted and your cameras are off. Thank you for your cooperation. And we have another question added to the chat. Ms. Anna Santiago is asking for the 24-year-old college student. Is there an income limit to claim them as a dependent?
An income limit for who? For the child?
The 24-year-old college student that you mentioned earlier?
No,
If
they're a college student, if they're enrolled at least, half-time at a university and they make $7,000, working at Starbucks, you can still claim them. That rule is different for a dependent that is in college. And they can file too, but they still have to say that they can be claimed as a dependent on somebody else's return.
We don't have any more. Are there any more questions, comments in the chat? Anyone else? Once, going twice. Okay, all right. Well, are there any further comments or anything you would like to add, Ms. Ivan, I'm sorry.
No, just thank you so much for all of you. What a great group. It was nice to talk to you. I hope you use some of our services, really totally free, and be careful out there. Always, 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 if you have somebody else do your tax return, it's not us, it's somebody on the fly, your neighbor, a friend recommended to you. Always, always, always make sure that you get a printed copy of your tax return. I mean, that's yours. It's kind of important. You may never need it again, or you may need that again. If something's wrong and it needs to be amended and you don't know really what was filed, it's going to be really hard. We're going to have to get transcripts from the IRS to figure out what was going on so we can help you make it right again. But you should always have a copy of your tax return. I'll get off my soapbox now about that.
You've provided a wealth of information in terms of tax preparation, the training, volunteerism, and we truly appreciate you joining us today. We want to give you a round of applause for coming today, Ms. Ivan, and just let everybody know as well. We thank you all for joining us today.